These are six 20-year-old Mercedes-Benz models, specifically the 2005 and 2006 model years, that will either reward you with decades of bulletproof German engineering or financially ruin you with repair bills that cost more than the car itself. Knowing the difference could save you thousands. Right now in 2026, we are sitting at a fascinating inflection point for used Mercedes ownership. The cars rolling off Stuttgart's production lines around 2005 and 2006 are now 2 decades old, which means depreciation has done its work. You can find these cars for pennies on the dollar compared to their original sticker prices. A car that once cost $70, $80, even $100,000 can now be had for $5,000 to $15,000. That sounds like a dream, doesn't it? German luxury, world-class engineering, the Mercedes star on your hood, all for the price of a well-optioned Honda Civic. But there is a catch, and it is a pretty significant one. These cars were built during what many enthusiasts call the dark ages of Mercedes-Benz, which is the DaimlerChrysler era. When the merger between Daimler-Benz and Chrysler introduced cost-cutting measures that degraded wiring harnesses, cheapened components, and led to premature failures across entire model lines. This was the generation that followed the legendary W124 and W1440, the last Mercedes models built before the bean counters took over, and the difference is like night and day. Mercedes-Benz's overall reliability rating sits at 3.0 out of 5.0, ranking them 27th out of 32 car brands. Annual maintenance costs average $908, according to RepairPal, significantly more than the industry average of $652. J.D. Power surveys from this era told a similar story, consistently placing Mercedes below segment average for initial quality and long-term dependability. And there is a 41% chance your Mercedes will need a major repair within its first decade. Now multiply all of that by 20 years of age, previous owners who may or may not have kept up with maintenance, and parts that have been heat cycling and deteriorating for 2 full decades. Some of these cars are basically ticking time bombs, and others are quietly among the best used cars that money can buy. So here's the breakdown: 3 to buy, 3 to avoid. Starting with the good stuff. The first car on the buy list is one that most people have never even heard of, and that's exactly what makes it so special. The 2005 to 2006 Mercedes-Benz C55 AMG. Enthusiasts call this the ultimate sleeper. From the outside, it looks like a regular W203 C-Class sedan. Conservative lines, nothing outrageous, the kind of car your accountant might drive. Pop the hood, though, and you'll find a hand-built 5.4-liter naturally aspirated V8 producing 362 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque. That engine is assembled by hand at AMG's Affalterbach facility, which means one technician per engine, start to finish, which is part of why it's so exceptional. That's the M113 engine. And if you know anything about Mercedes powertrains, you know that designation carries serious weight. The M113 replaced the more complex M119 DOHC V8 that preceded it, and in doing so, Mercedes traded high revving complexity for long-term durability. The M113 is widely regarded as one of the most reliable V8 engines Mercedes has ever produced. It's naturally aspirated, which means no turbochargers to fail, no supercharger bearings to worry about, none of the complexity that plagues forced induction setups. The Bosch fuel injection system feeding it is equally proven, straightforward, well understood, and easy to service after 2 decades. As one PistonHeads forum member put it, the engine is pretty understressed, pulling around the relatively lightweight W203 body, and it should outlive the car comfortably. Then there's the transmission. The 5-speed automatic in the C55, the 722.6, also known as the NAG1 or 5G Tronic, is pretty much bulletproof. Owners who have been driving these cars for years describe the drivetrain as the last thing you'll ever need to worry about. That's a big difference to the supercharged C32 AMG that came before it and the high-strung C63 AMG that followed. The C55 sits in this sweet spot where AMG delivered serious power but wrapped it in mechanically simple, proven hardware. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Rust is the number one concern, particularly on the front and rear fenders. Minor oil leaks from valve covers develop over time, and the window regulators are known to fail. But these are manageable issues. Hundreds of dollars rather than thousands. For a 362 horsepower AMG sedan that nobody sees coming, the C55 remains one of the best kept secrets in the used car market. The second car on the buy list takes us into a totally different segment. The 2005 to 2008 Mercedes-Benz SL500, the R230 generation. Luxury convertibles and reliability don't usually belong in the same sentence, but the R230 SL defied expectations, particularly in the later production years after Mercedes worked out the early problems. Under the hood sits the same M113 family of engines, this time in 5.0-liter form, producing 302 horsepower, fed by the same Bosch fuel injection system found across the M113 lineup. It's smooth, it's refined, and most importantly, it's durable. Reddit owners of the SL500 consistently describe the drivetrain as very good, with many reporting 150,000 to 200,000 miles without major mechanical issues. Well-maintained examples have pushed well beyond that. The model year matters enormously here. Early R230s, particularly the 2001 to 2004 cars, struggled with hydraulic issues, electrical faults, and the kind of first-year production headaches that make mechanics wince. By 2005, Mercedes had addressed the majority of those problems. The hydraulic folding hardtop became more reliable. The electrical systems were refined, and that grand touring character that makes the SL special remained completely intact. There is one significant detail worth understanding: the ABC suspension. ABC stands for Active Body Control and is Mercedes' hydraulic suspension system. And when it works, it's absolutely wonderful. When it does not, repairs can easily run into the thousands. Hydraulic pumps, accumulators, struts, valve blocks, any of these can fail, and the parts are not cheap. Aftermarket suppliers like Arnott have made replacement components more accessible than they once were, which does help to keep maintenance costs down. But here's the thing: budget for the ABC system, find a car where it has been recently serviced or has documented maintenance history, and the SL500 transforms from a risky proposition into a genuinely rewarding ownership experience. You are getting a Mercedes Grand Tourer with a folding hardtop, a silky V8, and the kind of road presence that turns heads at every stoplight. The third car on the buy list is arguably the most surprising: the 2005 to 2008 Mercedes-Benz G500, the W463. A 20-year-old G-Wagon on a reliability list, you say? Just hear me out on this one. The G500 from this era shares something critical with the C55 AMG and the SL500, the M113 V8. That same naturally aspirated, understressed, supremely durable engine with its Bosch fuel management is sitting right here in the G-Wagon's engine bay. One owner on Benz World reported driving their 2003 G500 for 10 years, accumulating 135,000 miles, with it still running strong. But the real reason the G-Wagon earns a spot on this list goes beyond the engine. Unlike almost every other Mercedes from this era, the G-Class is mechanically straightforward. There's no air suspension to fail. No elaborate active body control system leaking hydraulic fluid everywhere. No overly complex electronic systems managing every single aspect of the driving experience. The G-Wagon is, at its core, a body-on-frame truck with solid axles, a transfer case, and 3 locking differentials. It was designed for environments where electronic complexity would be a liability, and that philosophy really pays off in its long-term reliability. The 5-speed 722.6 automatic transmission, the NAG1, found in models up to 2007 and 2008, is considered by many enthusiasts to be more reliable than the 7-speed 722.9, also known as the 7G-tronic, that replaced it. And by the 2007 to 2008 model years, Mercedes had worked out many of the electronic bugs and sensor issues from the early 2000s models, bringing improved wiring harnesses and upgraded components. Watch for rust, especially on pre-2006 models around the window frames, fenders, and rear gate. Steering links and steering dampers are known failure points, but the G500 carries an expected lifespan of 200,000 miles and beyond, and for a vehicle that holds its value better than almost anything else on the road, that's a compelling case. Now let's shift to the other side, because for every reliable 20-year-old Mercedes out there, there's one that will drain your bank account and test your patience in ways you didn't expect. These are the 3 to avoid, starting with the car that might surprise you the most. The 2006 Mercedes-Benz E350, the W211 generation. The E-Class is supposed to be the reliable one, right? Ask a Mercedes mechanic what they'd buy, and the E-Class usually tops the list. It's the brand's proven workhorse, the car European taxi fleets run into the ground. But there's a massive exception to that statement, and it's spelled E350. According to carcomplaints.com, the 2006 E350 is the single worst model year of the E-Class in terms of reliability, accumulating 110 complaints and earning the title of most complained about Mercedes-Benz car overall. The primary villain is the balance shaft. Designed to reduce engine vibrations, the balance shaft in the E350's M272 V6 wears over time and triggers a cascade of failures, check engine lights, stalling, rough running. The repair runs into the thousands, often requiring engine outwork. This wasn't a high mileage problem either. Many owners reported balance shaft failures on cars with relatively low mileage. The issue was so widespread, it sparked legal action against Mercedes-Benz. The balance shaft wasn't the only problem. The 2006 E350 also suffered from fuel leakage in the propulsion system, with owners reporting strong fuel smells in the cabin, which is an obvious safety concern. Mercedes eventually granted a 15-year warranty extension to address it. Here's where it gets nuanced. The W211 E-Class as a whole isn't necessarily a bad car. Facelift models from 2006 onward eliminated the problematic SBC electronic brake system and incorporated over 2,000 component improvements. Find an E320 or E500 with the inline 6 or the M113 V8 instead of the troubled M272 V6, and the ownership experience can be completely different. One owner reported buying 2005 E320s with 94,000 miles each and found them reliable enough for a coast-to-coast road trip. But the E350 specifically, particularly that 2006 debut year, is a car worth walking away from. The second car on the avoid list is the one that inspired the phrase, "There's no such thing as a cheap Mercedes S-Class." The W220, produced from 1999 to 2006. Consumer Reports once described the W220 as one of the least reliable luxury cars they'd ever evaluated, and they weren't exaggerating. The W220 S-Class is a case study in how not to build a flagship sedan. It arrived packed with cutting-edge technology, much of which hadn't been fully tested before hitting production. The Airmatic air suspension became notorious for failing compressors, air leaks, faulty level sensors, and problematic relays. Owners reported their cars sagging, sitting at mismatched heights, or simply refusing to raise at all. Aftermarket suppliers like Arnott offer replacement compressors and air struts, but even with those options, the repair bills add up fast. The electrical system was equally troublesome. Mercedes' shift to water-based paint during this era contributed to rust issues that were previously unthinkable on an S-Class. And the cost-cutting measures introduced during the DaimlerChrysler merger meant shared parts with lesser vehicles and quality control that fell well below Mercedes' historical standards. A huge shift from the W140 era that preceded it. A facelift arrived in late 2002 that addressed many common problems, but even post-facelift W220s carry the DNA of a fundamentally compromised design. The parts are expensive, the systems are intricate, and once they fail, repair bills can easily exceed the value of the car itself. A W220 S-Class might look like a bargain at $5,000 or $6,000, but the first time your air suspension compressor gives out, or your SAM module starts throwing random electrical faults, you'll understand why every experienced Mercedes mechanic will tell you to run from these cars. The third car on the avoid list is the 2006 to 2007 Mercedes-Benz ML350 and ML500, the W164 generation. Forum discussions among owners frequently cite the 2006 ML350 as one of the most unreliable vehicles ever produced by any manufacturer, not just by Mercedes, but by anyone. That's a pretty bad rating for a car wearing the three-pointed star. The 2006 model year marked the debut of the ML's second generation, and it carried all the first-year production problems you'd expect, plus a few you wouldn't. Engine failure is the primary concern. In gas-powered models, a faulty camshaft adjuster solenoid could lead to catastrophic engine damage. In diesel models, the OM642 engine, Mercedes' 3-liter V6 diesel, brought its own set of headaches, including crankshaft sensor failures and a swirl flap system prone to catastrophic intake manifold failures. The 7-speed transmission exhibited unexpected shifting behavior and lacked the refinement you'd expect from a luxury SUV. Electrical gremlins ran rampant, and with average annual maintenance costs hovering around $1,000, the financial burden compounds quickly. This is a vehicle where small problems escalate into major ones because owners defer maintenance due to cost, creating a vicious cycle of neglect and failure. By the time a 2006 ML350 reaches its 20th birthday, the odds of finding one that hasn't been through multiple owners, deferred maintenance periods, and significant component failures are honestly really slim. So what's the common thread across all of this? Look at the 3 cars on the buy list: the C55 AMG, the SL500, the G500. They all share one thing: the M113 V8. That naturally aspirated, understressed, brilliantly engineered engine, hand-built in a Falterbach, is the golden ticket in 20-year-old Mercedes ownership. It's the engine Mercedes actually got right during an era when they got a lot of things wrong. Then look at the avoid list: the E350 with its balance shaft failures, the W220 S-Class with its air suspension nightmares, the ML350 with its first-year production catastrophes. These are cars where complexity, cost-cutting, and insufficient testing created the perfect storm of unreliability. If you're shopping for a 20-year-old Mercedes right now, Here's your checklist. Find a car with the M113 engine wherever possible. Prioritize facelift models over pre-facelift. Demand full service history. Verify recall and warranty work, especially for SBC brakes. Avoid the Airmatic air suspension unless you have the budget to maintain it. And remember that the purchase price of a 20-year-old Mercedes is just the entry fee. The real cost is in ownership. Mercedes engines can reach 300,000 miles when maintained according to manufacturer requirements. Diesel versions have been known to hit 350,000 to 400,000 kilometers on the original engine. The potential for long, rewarding ownership is absolutely there, but it requires choosing the right car, understanding its weaknesses, and staying ahead of maintenance. 20 years on, some of these cars are better than ever. Others are ticking time bombs wrapped in leather and wood trim, but now you know which one is which.